Making a return trip to the basement. Thank goodness we don't give reward points for like returning guests, because I think I'd owe this guy all kinds of swag. Ed Slott is back. How are you, man?
Well, it's great to be back in the basement, so to speak. Sounds a little creepy, but it's good.
No, yes, it is, doesn't it? But if
maybe think I watched too much of that Criminal Minds. Everything happens in the basement.
This is the friendlier basement where we play board games and have fun and, listen to records.
Yeah, that's the beginning of it. That's board games and the fun. Yeah.
That's where it starts, right? And then somebody goes in the back room. But speaking of that, you're the guy who obviously helps people get out of the quote back room of the darkness with their taxes. It's the end of the year, Ed. If we're just going to frame this whole issue of year-end tax planning that we hear all the time, frame that for me. What do we really want to think about first when we think about year-end tax planning?
Well, what you can lock in now for 2021, and the only thing we know is what tax rates are today, right now. As of this moment, we still don't know what they'll be next year. We know what they're scheduled to be, but my worry is that anything can pass Congress when they get desperate for money. They look at everybody's retirement savings as the low-hanging fruit, a big juicy steak, and all of a sudden they raise rates, and your retirement savings are caught in the crosshairs. Why? Because these accounts are loaded with taxes. They're the most taxed accounts you can have. And most people have this false sense of security. They, especially now with the stock market, they see the balances going up and up. And here's the thing, you look at your IRA statement, and most people actually believe this, that it's their money. They don't realize an IRA is a joint account with Uncle Sam. If you think about it that way, then you might want to do something about it. If you know what a joint account is, it means you're sharing your money with a joint owner. That joint owner, it's been on the IRA the minute it was born. It came out of the womb with you. That's how it was. That was the deal we made with the devil years ago. If you remember, you got tax deductions up front, but there would become a day of reckoning where whenever you want to get to that money, you'll have to pay the piper. So anyway, we know what rates are today. What can we do with those rates now? And the other thing we know is the rates, if nothing happens in Congress, they will go up eventually. They're scheduled to go up after 2025. Remember, the low rates we have now were only temporary. So they may go up next year. They may go up in a few years. But you have to do long-term planning. So what you can do now is use those low rates, maybe move some funds out of an IRA, maybe to a Roth IRA, a Roth conversion. Now, nobody likes paying taxes up front, but this is the secret, and I'm going to give you the secret. I don't share this with many people. One of our founding fathers, Benjamin Franklin, you know him from that $100 bill from behind you.
We know the guy from the name of our show, for goodness sake.
Yeah, some people don't have enough of a relationship with him, right. Not enough. But you know him. He had a saying, he said, because I'm going to tell you a secret. He said, 3 people can share a secret if 2 of them are dead. So I'm going to give you that. That's from Poor Richard's Almanac. I read it all the time. It is a great book. You should get it. There's so many great little Franklinisms in there for just about everything in life. Matter of fact, he also said, which I use all the time, in this world, nothing is certain except death and taxes. Except with taxes, you can get an extension and there's something you can do about it. So that's what I'm talking about now. And here's the secret. Paying taxes up front. Nobody wants to hear that because right away they say, what kind of secret is that, Ed? How will I have more if I'm giving money out this year right now? I'll have less. In the short term, yes, you'll have less, but you'll be building long term with a Roth conversion. The minute you do that, all your earnings earn for you 100%. You don't have to share anything with Uncle Sam. And I don't know if you know this, you don't have to. He's not even your real uncle. There's no obligation for you to keep sharing with Uncle Sam. So the minute you move to Roth, now there's just one option. Yes, you'll pay taxes up front, but you may be paying it at rates you'll never see again. You can literally save thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands or more in good tax planning. And the key to all of that is to always pay taxes at the lowest rates, when the rates are the lowest. This may be right now. So right now we know what the rates are. You can do a few things. like a Roth conversion, start bringing down that taxable IRA balance and building tax-free in your Roth. One of the benefits for the Roth is if you use it as it's supposed to be used in retirement, anything in retirement will be tax-free for the rest of your life. Plus, there are no required minimum distributions. So it's a big benefit, but you have to pay for it up front.
It seems like Ed, just a question there. It seems like, based on the fact that I'm not going to pay taxes on this forever, the younger I am, the more beneficial doing this conversion is, because then I hopefully have this time value money that's going to just compound.
Well, it seems that way, but that's not really the argument. Matter of fact, that doesn't hold water, because and to the other way too, because people say, well, they use it the other way. I always hear this time value of money argument the other way when I tell people pay taxes up front on a Roth. As a matter of fact, from my colleagues, CPAs, friends of mine, tax guys who only look at what goes out in taxes, again, short-sighted thinking, they say, Ed, if my client pays taxes up front, what about the opportunity cost, the money that just went in the garbage in taxes? That could have been earning over time. What about the opportunity cost? That argument doesn't hold water. It's all about the tax rates. For example, if the tax rates are the same now and in the future, the difference is the same, and assuming the same earnings rate. So that's going to be the same regarding of how long the time value is, the time frame is. But the big thing is, the Roth conversion is really just a big, giant bet on what you think future tax rates will be for you, your highest marginal rate. And I believe for most people, they'll be higher. They won't go lower than they are today. That's highly unlikely. So what if you were able to make a bet? Now, a lot of people don't like betting, especially with retirement money, not a good idea. But what if you went to Las Vegas and the odds they tilted the odds from the house to you, but instead of, I don't know what the odds are, but I think the house wins everything by like 1% or something like that.
Yeah, like on a roulette wheel. Sure.
Yeah, right. Well, that's even worse. That's but what if the odds, I would say, go 70 to 80%, maybe even higher, in your favor of winning the tax rate bet in the future? Then it doesn't look so bad, because the odds are, if you do nothing, you think you're saving money now. That's what people tell me. Well, if I don't convert, I have more money. I didn't pay anything in taxes. But all that happens is you're ignoring the problem. That's like the sign in my dentist's office. She has a sign there that says, ignore your teeth and they'll go away. That's the same thing that will happen here. If you ignore the IRA, do you think it stops growing? No, it just keeps growing and growing. And the problem, and believe me, it's growing as a joint account. Never forget that. The Uncle Sam's share is growing too. They're a partner in the earnings. And at some point, if you do nothing, come 72 years old, you'll be forced to take that money out at what may be prohibitive tax rates when you'll need the money most in retirement. So it pays maybe to pay some tax now, and it's not an all or nothing. Probably the best idea is to always use up those low tax brackets. Maybe start a series of smaller annual conversions over time. So over time, you're pulling down that taxable IRA balance, which means in the future, the lower that balance goes, the lower your future RMDs will be, and the lower your income tax bill will be for the rest of your life. Plus, now you have all that growth in the Roth. But let's say I'm wrong. You know why I say that? I mentioned this at a program, one of our 2-day programs you've probably seen. We did in Las Vegas, of all places. So a guy stood up recently, and I talked about this, financial advisor, and he said, you know, Ed, I was at your 2-day program 10 years ago in Las Vegas, and you said the same thing, that tax rates would go up. Well, you are wrong. In fact, not only did they not go up, but they went down. So what do you have to say about that? I was there 10 years ago. In 2010, you said that. So what do you have to say for yourself now? So I said to him, well, if you had done the Roth back then, when I told you, those last 10 years of gains, and I didn't know it then, but in a record bull market, would have all been growing 100% for you, all never to be taxed for income tax. Now, what do you have?
Not have to share it with anybody.
Now you have those same gains, but they will all be partially going right back to Uncle Sam at whatever future tax rates are. So here's the great thing I love about the Roth, and I'm not saying it's for everybody, but everybody should take advantage of these low rates. That's one thing you can do this year. What if I'm wrong? What if I'm wrong on the bet? Like that guy said, I was wrong before, and tax rates don't go up. Maybe they even go down. I doubt it, but let's say I'm wrong. Here's what I like about this bet. What's the worst case scenario? I always like to tell people before they make a move, let's see what the worst thing is that could happen.
Best thing to do.
Right. What's the worst thing that could happen? I was wrong. All right. Here's the consolation prize. You've just locked in a 0% tax rate for the rest of your life on your retirement savings. You can't beat a 0% rate. That's not a bad consolation prize for losing a bet that you have a 70 to 80% or more chance of winning. That's why I like the Roth so much. But
so
you
it sounds
have
like
to part with money up front, which nobody likes to do, but that's the secret.
Well, and I think about it, when you say it's a joint account, I liken it to if you know the marriage with Uncle Sam is bad, let's get the divorce attormy now. Right?
Yeah, right. That's a good one.
I don't know anybody who was in a bad marriage for 10 years and said, I wish I would have waited longer, So maybe
that's a good line. I have to use that in a show. I have a similar line on a program I'm working for, and it starts working on. And it starts with the whole marriage divorce thing. And I start by saying, are you in a bad marriage? And this is a TV program. I said, if you're flipping channels, this is not a marriage counseling program, but I know if you were flipping and you heard, are you in a bad marriage? You would have stopped right there to hear the rest of it. Right. I'm talking about exactly what you said, a bad marriage with Uncle Sam. Time to make Uncle Sam your ex-beneficiary.
Right. That's fabulous. Let's go into
but there's other things you can do at year end.
Well, hold on. Before we get to that, I want to talk just technically about how we get that done. Because for a lot of our listeners, this is obviously stuff that's heady. I think they get the concept, but doing this means you take your IRA, but to your point, you really want to look at what tax bracket you're going to be in this year. And what you're saying is calculating how much, maybe up to that next tax bracket line, and go ahead and take out that much and flip it over to the IRA. Do the conversion to that amount.
Right. You have to look truly at your marginal rates, what the top rate would be, figuring in stealth taxes and the effect on these other things. But yeah, the idea is to see now is the perfect time. You can't do this. I really wouldn't do a Roth conversion until well into the year, like in December. Why? Because first of all, you should know, everybody on here should know the rules would change. Roth IRA conversions are permanent now. There's no backseas. Remember, you used to be able to undo it and go back. No more of that. Once you convert, you will owe the tax. Even if your financial situation changes later on, you will still owe. That shouldn't deter you from doing the Roth, but it should encourage you to do a fair income projection, which you can only do once you hit the month of December, when all the mutual funds throw off their capital gains. Boy, that's going to be some windfall this year. So you have a better idea of what income bracket you're really going to be in. You'll only really know that towards the end of the year, which is now. So now's the time to look at it when you have a better estimate of what your income will be for 2021.
Second question on that, by the way, if we've seen in Congress, and we keep getting this question, and I hate doing as much as you do, Ed. I hate this too, but I'm going to ask you anyway. The backdoor.
I know
Roth,
the question. I get this
the backdoor
question.
Roth IRA survived, right? So far, it survived.
Not so far. Right now, it's still in the crosshairs.
Well, that's what I was asking is, do you think it's going to make it?
Well, it's the whole Build Back Better plan. If that makes it, all this IRA stuff is probably going to go on the train with it, because it's not controversial. I haven't seen anybody picketing outside the Capitol with signs, "Save the Backdoor Roth IRA." It doesn't have a big constituency. They're not going to flood the streets over it. So nobody's even talking about it. In fact, when you read up on what's in the bill and they give these are the higher rates, this is the child credits, this is this or that, and at the end, almost like a footnote, and there's some changes to retirement accounts.
Right.
So I think if the big bill goes through, this is going to tag along with it. And that's the only downside. So you can't do backdoor Roths after this year. So do them now. It's now or never.
Yeah, get it done. No, that makes a ton of sense. Let's talk about the other stuff. I want to talk specifically about tax loss harvesting. I think it's kind of ridiculous that some of these so-called robo advisors are marketing tax loss harvesting to 25-year-olds who just started out. I think it's much more important as you build your portfolio, right, to have tax loss harvesting.
Here's why it's dangerous for the younger people. I've been talking about this on programs. You have the average young person investing in crypto or GameStop, whatever the stuff they're doing. It's beyond me. But none of them have ever known a down market. Most young people investing, let's face it, the last down market was the end of 2008, 9, 10. So if they're
I had hair back then, Ed. I had hair in those years. Yeah.
So if you think about it, what were they, 5, 6, 7 years? You know, they don't have the concept that the market could go down one day. The things you have could go down. I don't think they understand the big picture. They just look at everything just goes up, but that can't happen forever. You could do that. A good financial advisor could help you do that. But you have to look for the long term. Do you want to? I mean, who knows? I'm not a stock guy, so I don't know which ones will be losers and winners. But that's playing a short term game. Sometimes that doesn't work long term.
So you're not really a huge fan of tax loss harvesting?
Well, I mean, it's great. Obviously, if you have big gains and you can take losses, why not?
Sure. Okay.
But remember, you have the 30-day wash sale rule. So what you can do is take the losses and then buy it back 30 days later. That's all.
I saw somebody mess that up who was supposedly a professional playing the GameStop game last year, rebought the stock, I think 70 different times and forgot about the wash sale rule.
Yeah, see, that could throw you off. And that's reported, by the way, on the 1099-Bs. They have the wash sales, that's being tracked.
So ugly. It was lost tons of money and couldn't write off any of it.
No, of course you want to do. I mean, you don't want, like I had a young guy who called me and he said he had over 100, and this is just a regular worker. He's a teacher or something. And, but he was playing around. He said, I made over $150,000 of gains I have this year. I said, well, do you have a lot of losses? Maybe take some of the losses on things that you think are no good, or maybe if they're good, but you could buy them back after 30 days just to get the tax loss in and lower your tax exposure for this year. That's good.
Yeah. What else can I do before the end of the year, Ed?
All right. If you're charitably inclined, not that everybody is, but according to my studies, my own survey, 100% of people are charitably inclined. How do I know that? As a tax preparer for over 40 years, when I used to sit with people, I don't do it anymore, but when I used to sit with people to prepare their taxes, I'd get to the itemized, all right, did you give to charity? Oh, yeah. Everybody, I gave millions, billions even. Nobody ever said no. Now, I don't know if it's true. I saw one church. Did you work with maybe some Pinocchios, you think? Maybe. Yeah, right. I saw one pastor put out a sign in a church, give generously, or at least as much as you say you're giving on the tax return. So anyway, if you're giving, most people are not getting any tax benefit any longer about the gifts they make, and they still write the checks to the church, the alumni, the school, the causes, all these things, all these charities, but they do it the wrong way. There are ways now, if you qualify, to get a tax benefit. It's limited. That's why not enough people qualify, but it's called a QCD, Qualified Charitable Distribution. They've been around for years. Most people don't take advantage. The problem is it's only available to a limited audience, IRA owners or beneficiaries who are 70 and a half years old or older. They're probably not getting any tax benefit for their charitable gifts because most of them take the standard deduction. More than 90% take standard deduction now that it was increased. So instead of writing checks to the charities, you can make a direct transfer from your IRA, only IRA owners or beneficiaries who are 70 and a half years old or older. You can do up to $100,000 a year, which should be a pretty good amount for most people. you can make a direct transfer. Say you give $5,000 a year in charity, have a direct transfer done from your IRA to the charity. It's excluded from income. It's better than a deduction.
Oh, nice.
It's excluded from income. Now, not enough people take advantage of it. And you know what's really strange? Not enough charities are promoting it. Imagine the windfall of donations they get, because the few charities that started doing it, that I've done a few programs with them, they said once they got their donators, their supporters, in line with this, these donations come in every year like clockwork. They
absolutely
get more donations, and people know they're getting a big tax benefit out of it. Plus, there's another thing you can do, which is only available this year if you're a big giver. There's a special provision from the stimulus package. Most people are not aware of it. That was passed around this time last year that allows people, and this would be people that give a lot of money, because this would go to itemized deduction. So it'd be a lot of money. They can give up to 100% of their adjusted gross income. That used to be 60, if you remember, and they pushed it up to 100% for last year, and it ends this year. So you could make big gifts if you're ever thinking of doing it and get full tax deductions up to the amount of your income, and that ends this year. So if you're charitably inclined and you were thinking about making this big gift, this may be the year to do it and have Uncle Sam pay the bill.
Speaking of business owners, if I own a business, I know there's deadlines on setting up retirement programs that may help you. If we've got business owners in the audience that want to set up a retirement program, are there any December 31st dates?
Well, if you have a 401k, generally the contributions have to be made by the end of the year. But if you're self-employed and you have, say, a SEP, that could be funded up until next year. So you could do that and fund it next year. Lots of people do that. They wait to see what their income is, and then they fund their SEP IRA. But again, I don't know if that's such a good move anymore. If you had limited money, I might just start piling it into a Roth IRA. Yes, you get the deduction for the SEP, but again, you're building a savings account that could be taxed much more heavily in the future. It may not be worth what you think it will be in retirement. I worry about tax rates, given our deficit and debt levels, about tax rates going up and depleting your retirement savings just when you'll need them the most in retirement, when the paychecks stop and there are not a lot of other income sources coming in.
Yeah, somebody told us recently, and maybe it was you, Ed, talking about tax rates, about talking to some government officials, and these are nonpartisan government officials. These are people that have worked in government for a long time, in taxation for a long time, saying that it's just math. Like at some point, the way the math works, tax rates are going to have to go up because we don't have a choice. There's going to be no choice.
Right. It is math. And, you got to remember this, and this is important. There are only three kinds of people in this world: those who understand math and those who don't. Three kinds.
Wait a minute. Hold on a second. Let's see if I've got this right here. There it is.
What is it? A rim shot?
Yes.
Yeah.
We had to. I should have been using that the whole time, and I didn't think about it. Not often we get to use the rim shot and taxation talk at the same time, which is why we love you, Ed. I wish, if only there were a place where people could get IRA help, if they could get tax help.
I don't know. Well, you can go
Does
to
such
our
a place exist?
Yeah, well, we do it all the time. That's all we've been doing for over 30 years. And you might notice I have a new book out. I don't know if you noticed it.
I don't know if yes, for those of you watching us on video.
It's very subliminal. I don't make a big deal out of it. It's very subliminal. It's the new retirement savings time bomb, where I talk about all these things we're talking about. And I believe, I've been doing this for decades, and I see tangible, quantifiable amounts, thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of money you can save with good tax planning, money that would otherwise go to the government for no reason at all, and that other than that you did no planning. And that can be done. So my website for that, Or if you're a financial advisor looking to get better educated so you can do a better job for your clients, because most, I have to say, are not doing a good job. Yeah, they're helping people make money, but when it comes to your IRA and 401k, it's what you keep that counts after taxes. You need the tax planning part, because without it, all you're doing is building a savings account for the government. That's not a good long-term plan. My website is www. I don't know why we say that, but everybody says that. I don't know if that's a thing anymore. www.irahelp, IRAHELP, IRAhelp.com. Lots of great information. We answer your questions there. You can even find advisors that have taken extensive training with us, or if you're an advisor, you can, up your game so you can do a better job to help your clients keep more of their hard-earned money. That's what it all comes down to. How much you keep. It's like in football. They have a saying in football, the score at halftime is irrelevant. Give me the score at the end of the game, and then I'll tell you who won. It's the same thing. And if you notice in football, right, how many games are won or lost in the last 2 to 3 seconds? It's always that way. Some field goal, the game's over.
I'm a Detroit Lions fan. I hear.
Oh, yeah.
I know
Your
that
game has never won. Yeah.
Every damn week.
Well, do what I do. I'm a Giants and Jets fan, and I like to watch football. So the way I enjoy it each week, I root for other teams to lose. That's the only way you can enjoy football with you and me. Maybe one day. Have the Detroit Lions ever won a Super Bowl? I don't think they have.
They never have.
Never.
No.
Yeah, well, Jets and Giants, Jets only won back in 1969. I was 15. I remember that. But anyway, like the football game, same thing with your retirement savings. It's a score at the end of the game. Did you do the planning in the third and fourth quarter when it counts? That's what's going to determine how much of your retirement savings you get to keep and how much goes to the government. You want to keep more and pay less. You ever hear that saying, less is more?
Yeah, well, mom says it all the time.
Less is less. Right. Except when it comes to taxes. Another rim shot. Except when it comes to taxes. The less you pay, the more you keep. But to keep more and pay less, you have to have a plan, which almost nobody does. So that's one of the reasons you want to tune in to Stacking Benjamins. It shows that educate you, but that's not enough. You actually have to take action.
That's the whole key. And that's where I get frustrated. There's all kinds of professors that know everything and don't follow through on it. Your new book is The New Retirement Savings Time Bomb. We will link to that on our show notes. We'll link to IRAhelp.com on our show notes. Ed, it's such an honor to talk to you. Thanks for helping so many stackers. We appreciate it.
I like that. That's what you call them, stackers?
We do. Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's great. Well, maybe next year we'll be singing a whole different tune. Maybe there'll be a new tax law, maybe not. But there's always something that can be done to help you keep more of your hard-earned savings. That's without, it always comes down to this. The more you plan, the more you keep.